Oh, I did ask a bunch of questions. He had an answer for everything.
Wow.
And what was truly remarkable, and this is kind of a skill set of a lot of pathological liars, is he can repeat the same story and never make a mistake.
Mm.
And that was, I mean, it's really a talent. I often thought if he had just put his energy into something beneficial and worthwhile for the world, he could have been wildly successful, you know?
You hear all the bull about marketing every day. Make your money in your sleep. My new offer is crushing it. My guru could beat up your guru. It's time to go right to the source and get the truth about marketing. With your host, the founder of copychief.com, Kevin Rogers.
Hey, welcome to The Truth About Marketing. It's Kevin Rogers here. My guest today is Julia Lundstrom. She's the CEO of a very successful online health and nutrition company called Simple Smart Science. Her and her brother Russell are savvy marketers. They run this great business together. They're both members of my forum called Copychief, and we've worked together to help them team with some copywriters. But I want to start today. Oh, well, first of all, hi, Julia. Welcome.
Hi, thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. And you know, I especially appreciate it because I know you're due to give birth very soon here.
Very soon, yes.
Potentially on this call. Just so you know,
no, let's hope not.
I wouldn't call myself a doctor, and I have not delivered a baby, but I've been there for two of them. So, if needed, I can talk you right through this.
No, he needs to stay in there a few more weeks yet.
Right, and you're currently living in Sweden, yeah?
I am, yeah. We spend about 4 months a year in the States, and then the rest of the time here. So
awesome, very cool, yeah. So, all right, we're going to start with a pretty crazy story that happened in your life, and there's so many great lessons in here. About trust and understanding who you're bringing into your life and your businesses, and it's an amazing tale. So I'm just going to let you tell us all about this former boyfriend of yours.
Sure, it does go to the people you attract in your life, doesn't it? So this is, I often talk about this story because it is what led me to be really interested in brain health, and it was kind of unknowingly. But about, 4 or 5 years ago now, I guess even 6, 7 years ago now, I started dating this man who I spent 3 years of my life with and really thought I was going to spend the rest of my life. And there were some inconsistencies in the relationship, to say the least. And in the end, when things all fell apart, he confessed to me that he was on the FBI's most wanted bank robber list.
Wow.
And I remember sitting there, he owed me a bunch of money, and I was asking him, where's the money? And I literally said, what are you, a bank robber or a drug dealer? And he said, yeah, I'm a bank robber. And I didn't believe him. Because this is after 10 days that I had found out he was also a pathological liar. And had lied to me about having cancer and actually used his chemotherapy treatments to go rob banks.
Oh, wow.
And in my car. So that was fun.
Wow.
But so I didn't really believe him. He's like, no, look up on your phone, whatever date it was. And look up this bank. And I looked it up, and he was wearing my baseball cap in the picture. It was like, that was my first thought. That's my hat.
As he's robbing the bank.
As he's robbing the bank. It was
wow.
so crazy. And so I promptly called the cops and turned him in and got interrogated by the FBI the whole night. It turns out he almost made a record. He had robbed 24 banks in just 14 months.
Holy smokes. So
in 4 different states, and it was all while I was with him.
Wow,
and
so
I had no idea.
No idea. So this reminds me of something you'd see on Dateline or one of those shows, and go, no, come on. Like, how could she not know, right?
I know. No one had any idea. I mean, everything, even about the cancer, and I mean, he lied about what state his brother lived in and what his brother did for a living. We even flew to Ireland. He was Irish, to go meet his mom. And it turns out she never even knew we were there. He made up some big excuse on why we couldn't meet her and she wasn't going to be there and all this stuff. But she had no idea we were even there. So
wow.
it just went on. And Things like one time I guess a dye pack had exploded in his pocket, and he came home and he was all bloody from it. And the dye was red, though, so it looked like blood. It wasn't fluorescent green or anything. And he said he got hit by a car. So it's things like that. Like,
Wow.
Why would you think anything different,
Yeah, well, so, I mean, if I came home bloody and told my wife, I got hit by a car, there would be such an interrogation into, exactly what street did I cross? Like, why didn't I look both ways? Like, how, so was it, but I've been around people that are just really good at this, right? And they have a way of, diffusing topics and changing, topics. And was it that kind of thing where you just felt like if you kept asking questions, it would get awkward? Or, like in hindsight, like how do people get away with this level of lying?
Oh, I did ask a bunch of questions. He had an answer for everything.
Wow.
And what was truly remarkable, and this is kind of a skill set of a lot of pathological liars, is he can repeat the same story and never make a mistake. And that was, it's really a talent. I often thought if he had just put his energy into something beneficial and worthwhile for the world, he could have been wildly successful,
Yeah. It
was insane. But that kind of started my journey on just this downward spiral. And, 3 years of my life turned out to be complete fantasy.
Yeah, that's, you don't think of that, right? Like what that does to we tend to think, well, you're just lucky to be out of that now, but you don't think about, I guess it's almost like a death where this, like you said, it's a fantasy. It's like it was your life and then suddenly it's gone.
Yeah. Every conversation we had was fake.
Wow.
Everything we talked about wasn't real. And even traveling and, like I said, going to Ireland and all that stuff was just fake. And so it really did a number on me. And I fell into really deep depression and gained a bunch of weight and drank entirely too much every night. And the good thing that came out of it is I am a bit of a workaholic. I throw myself into work when it comes to going through stuff like that. And that was right at the time where I was entering the nutrition industry online, the direct marketing industry. And so I threw myself into work, and, my learning curve was straight up and down. Cool part was at the time I didn't really realize it, but that's actually what pulled me out of the depression. Because now I know, starting this company, getting into brain health and speaking to people about their brain health, is that when you're learning and you're challenging yourself, you're actually growing new brain cells. And they believe that that's why antidepressants work. It's not the added serotonin or dopamine. If that was the case, you would feel good overnight. But the antidepressants take, 3 weeks or a month to kick in. And they're starting to see results where it's because it grows your brain cells in your brain. And that's what's kicking you out of the depression.
Interesting.
So,
wow.
Yeah, I really didn't realize it. And I remember I picked up a book called Moonwalking with Einstein. Incredible book by Josh Ford, a memory champion of the world, or I guess of the U.S., and started, memorizing credit cards and memorizing grocery lists and playing cards, and that also grew my brain cells, snapped me out of the depression, and that's what launched me kind of in this direction of working with brain health and creating Simple Smart Science with my brother.
Fascinating. Yeah. I've heard that that's the best thing you can do, as you age is, what do they say, create new neural pathways. And the way to do that is by taking on new challenges, learning new things. We tend to get so set in our routines as we age that we're not challenging our brains.
Yeah, we talk to our customers so much about this, and it's true. I mean, what happens, you go through your early life, you're in your learning years, right? So up until you're 20, whatever. And all you're doing is learning all day, every day. And of course, you're your most productive and most energetic. And then you go into your first job and you're, the next 10 or 15 years of your life, you're still learning every day, right? And then all of a sudden something happens around late 30s, 40s, where people slow down, they get settled into their lives, they have kids, and that learning curve goes down. And then you get, to your 50s, 60s, where you're really settled in your career and you're really not learning very much every day. and it starts to go downward.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, if you retire and shut it down, you're completely going the opposite way. And that's actually, they're finding a precursor to Alzheimer's and dementias when people just stop learning.
Fascinating. Now, I love what you talked about, having dialogue with your customers. That's so crucial. So talk about I think your flagship product is the Mind Boost Day, yeah?
Yeah.
And so it's funny to hear you talk about this because you don't sound to me like a typical, nutritional supplement, say, marketer, because you've yet to say, well, when you take my supplement, then it does all this. You're talking about, the things in life that you need to do beyond the supplement. So I'll just set you up for a plug here because, I'm very into brain health and always wanting to take, do what I can do. And I've tried some different supplements. What is it about the Mind Boost Day that makes a difference?
Well, that's one thing. I mean, hopefully you can get my passion around this because I really love brain health.
Mm-hmm.
And it is all encompassing. It's not just the nutrient side, which comes from food, and then your extra nutrients, which come from supplements. Right? Because even in our Mind Boost Day, there's nothing in there that you can, you can't live without.
Right.
It's to give you that extra boost. And what we're really doing as a company is disrupting the supplement market.
Mm-hmm.
And the way we're doing that is by providing the highest quality ingredients. And the biggest thing is at the right dosages. And I see 95% of supplement makers out there and people who are white labeling and private labeling, they don't have anywhere near the dosages that they need to support the clinical trials. So
Right.
It's like saying, you need 1,000 milligrams of calcium a day and you're taking 50. It's not doing anything for you.
Right.
And I can look at a product and within 3 minutes tell you that it's not going to work for you based on the clinical trials. So all of ours are supported by the clinical trials, the dosages that say, we use the dosages that we need to use in order to support those.
So you guys are obviously running these studies and you're putting together, you're custom making formulas.
Right.
None of it's white labeled. Yeah. Okay.
No, it's our proprietary formula. We spend a lot of money on scientists getting these formulas put together and continue to do so. So it's really the best ingredients, the highest quality manufacturers, and the dosages. I mean, I just can't, the dosages drive me crazy. All these proprietary formulas that have 50 ingredients in them.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you right away, in one capsule you can only fit so many milligrams. There's no way that it works.
Yeah. That's a great point. So it's kind of like a marketing trick. If you see, the most herbs of any brain health supplement, go, yeah, that's probably not the good thing.
Yeah, unless you're taking 5 or 6 pills, a handful of them at a time. But it's really disappointing to me in the supplement market and the supplement space. And so we're really getting out there. I speak in front of different groups. We provide a ton of information to our customers around their brain health and other things they can do. I mean, I wrote a book called The Brain Owner's Manual, and we give that for free to all of our customers. It's not just about the supplement, but it's about what else you can do.
Yeah.
And I know you talked to a lot of entrepreneurs through this podcast, and that's a market I'm speaking at Underground this year, and that's the topic we're going to be talking about, which is, as an entrepreneur, what do you do under your brain, and what can you do better to step up your game?
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the mix of, because you're, so many supplement marketers, it's just all about how many bottles can I get into somebody's cart, right?
Yeah.
You guys, like you said, you're doing a lot of education along with the supplements. So let's talk about that balance. Like, when a new, say, prospect, a new person enters your world, what's on their mind? How are they finding you? And what do you want them to learn first about you and your company?
Oh, that's an excellent question. How they're finding us is through different advertising channels. We are direct marketers, so we do everything from affiliate marketing to media buys to Facebook to whatever. And it depends on how they get to us on the marketing message. I mean, this is your area of expertise on the copywriting. And the thing is, you look at something like weight loss, and you don't have really a learning curve. People know they want to lose weight. They're already on your page because they want to lose weight. So they're already halfway sold. The only thing left remaining is, do I trust you? Do I believe in you? Right?
Right. And do you have something that I feel like I haven't tried already?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
For brain health, brain supplements are really new. And, and we launched beginning of 2014, but we were working on this all of 2013. There was really not a lot out there. And I think now we have, a couple hundred different competitors, but it's really new and people haven't heard about it. And living in Sweden, no one's heard of it. I mean, this is just such a small market that's exploding. And so it really comes, you have to educate people that there is something they can do. And that there are preventative things they can do, from stopping their memory losses, stopping those senior moments, and teaching them. So we really have to go through a lot of education before we can even ask for the sale.
Yeah, interesting. So are you putting them through, how are you collecting information from, like, what's that point of engagement where they're going to go, oh, okay, wow, these folks care, that they're standing out. How do you get them to engage in the dialogue with you?
I will. It's tried and true. It's we've been doing internet marketing now, direct marketing, for about 8 years. And this is the second company, and the first company we tripled the revenues in 2 years. My brother and I working together, and I tell you, Kevin, no matter what we try, and we try a lot of different things, it always comes back to the video sales letter.
Interesting.
It just seems to be that whatever, the shiny objects that other people are doing through survey funnels, through, different ebooks that they're selling as a tripwire, for us, it always comes back to that video sales letter. And so we have a long video sales letter that we provide a ton of value, a ton of education. And at the end, we wrap it into, here's what else you can do to boost your brain power.
Great. So it's not about, let me grab you by the lapels and convince you that this is what you need, scare you into buying this bottle. As Dean Jackson says, it's better to compel them by giving them information that they can easily slot their own issues into, and be compelled to understand, wow, these people understand me. I can really identify with what they're talking about. And like you say, provide a lot of value so that even if they don't become a customer that day, they're better for having encountered your ad.
For sure. We spend, I think our video sales letter is 35 minutes, and the first 24 minutes is all the value add. It's just hitting them with, okay, your sleep cycles and what you can do to better improve your sleep to give you better brain health, and how important sleep is, and your food and your exercise routines, and what you can do to escalate those in order to give you better brain health. And it's all backed by studies, and it's all backed by science. So even if they cut out at 24 minutes, they've left thinking that at least we know what we're talking about, which is frankly really important to me, because I want to give that value and I want to be in integrity around that. And then, yes, of course, we sell on the back end, and there are some scare tactics in there. Unfortunately, fear sells better than love and caring. But it's a process that I believe in, and I really like the value-added sales on the front.
All right, so you're speaking at Underground, which is Yannick Silver's event coming up here. Let me see if I can rob a preview. I don't know how well you've prepared this this talk, but
a little ways off with the baby coming. But
all right, well, I'm gonna be selfish, and I can't resist. Pick your brain on something here, because I have terrible trouble sleeping, and I think I'm not alone as an entrepreneur. dealing with this, my pattern is getting to sleep's usually not too much of a problem. I don't watch TV or I try to, give at least an hour of free of screen times and all that. So getting to sleep, not too hard. I always wake up, 3 or 4 hours into my sleep, the proverbial trip to the restroom, and then I'm up. My mind's racing, and I try to tell myself, don't think, like, meditate. And sure enough, some thought comes by, and I'm like, oh, I'm up.
Yeah.
So
you're the high beta.
Oh, is that what all right. So tell me what's help me. What's going on, and how do I fix it?
Well, first of all, are you getting up because you have to go to the bathroom, or do you wake up and then think, oh, I should just go to the bathroom?
No. It's usually, I think I'm being my bladder's waking me up, because sometimes I'll try to go, no, just go back to sleep. You'll be fine. You won't wet the bed. But it never works. It's like, no, you absolutely have. So yeah, that is why I'm waking up.
Okay. Well, I wake up about 10 times a night right now for the same reason. But
I'm sure.
Baby kicking the bladder. The first thing you need to do is kind of look at preventing that from happening. So don't drink anything 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed.
Yeah. Okay.
That'll help, right? Because then you're not waking up because you have to go to the bathroom. Mm-hmm. The next thing is it is a brainwave function. And so we have different brain waves that happen throughout the day. And as entrepreneurs, the highest level is beta and high beta. And we're in high beta most of the day because we're constantly thinking, going in the flow, moving. Mm-hmm. And the problem is you can think of it like your heart. If you were running a sprint and your heart was beating as fast as it could all day, that would tax your system so much. So it's good to vary your heart rate when you're doing exercise and, of course, meditating. So you want to get into different brainwave states throughout the day. That's why people meditate. Do you meditate?
No, I don't.
Okay. So meditation is a great way to teach yourself how to get into alpha, which is actually your super creative space. And it's a practice, and it can take a year or two to really start training yourself. Mm-hmm. But once you start getting to the point where you can train yourself how to get into different brainwave states, it's much easier to do. And so you want to vary it just like you would in an exercise routine. You can do your high intensity, and then you come down, and high intensity and come down. If you practice that throughout the day, your brain's going to be much more capable of getting there in the middle of the night. Because what's happening, if you're in high beta, that's all your brain knows. You've created these pathways where you wake up and boom, you're in high beta.
Wow, yeah, makes perfect sense.
So you need to learn how to get into alpha, and then you can go back down to theta, which gets into your sleep states. And you can train yourself to do this. It's just through meditation and practice. But it's really about varying those brainwave patterns throughout the day so that you just don't automatically go into high beta every time you're awake.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I did try one thing that seemed to be helping a bit. It was a kind of a meditation app. And, I've tried a few different ones in different YouTube videos and stuff. But this one I found really effective. I listened to it for a couple nights. And the first night, I think you're supposed to listen to it once and fall asleep within like 10 minutes. I listened to it 4 times as I tried to sleep all night, but I was committed to it. But I did notice that I slept really good the rest of the week. And I thought, this is tapped into something. And so it's kind of, I'm connecting the dots, and I bet that has something to do with why it was effective. So
it's all those neural pathways, the more you travel a pathway, the deeper and more ingrained it gets.
Great. So, all right. And then a tip for, thank you. This is great. I'm getting like a free session here. I didn't expect this. Now, I know a lot of people, certainly I've read and talked with a lot of people about meditation and why it's important. And I guess everybody has to find their own path there, but is there one set of audio or an app that you know of that's especially effective at helping people learn to meditate?
No, I think it is a personal journey. I've tried a bunch of different apps. I'm not a big fan of the apps. And I use different guided meditations at different times. I meditate on my own a lot of times. It's like when I'm really tired and I don't have the willpower, that's when I go to a guided meditation. Somebody walking me through it. But there's a book called by Joe Dispenza called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
Oh, I like that.
And highly recommended. A little hard to get into, admittedly.
Okay.
But once you do, you can't put it down. And it goes through. It has a I think it's 6 or 7 week process, kind of starting with baby steps on how to get started in meditation. And the back of the book has some guided meditations you can read and do yourself. I actually recorded the whole thing and put it on our website, on our blog. I don't have the URL off the top of my head, but if you go to simplesmartscience.com and go to articles, you can find it somewhere in there under meditation. And it's just such a great book about why you should meditate, the brain science behind it, and then gives you the baby steps of, okay, week 1, you're just going to do this 5 minutes. Because it is a practice. You know, to sit down for 30, 40 minutes is a hard thing to do if you've never done it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, literally, I used to feel, guilty if I would, as a kid, even you go to church and you're supposed to be praying, and my mind would wander, and I'm like, oh, sorry, God, my bad. I know you're listening, and I just totally wandered off. So
it's hard, especially as entrepreneurs. Our minds are running 1 million miles per hour, and so that's why it's about being gentle with yourself. Okay. I think that's the most important thing. If the first time you sit down it's only 2 minutes, so be it.
Yeah, great. Awesome. I'm excited. Yeah, I totally see how that's going to help me. That makes perfect sense, just being, because, I'm exhausted. I have to force myself to walk away from the computer. Again, I think every entrepreneur has this. It's like there's enough to be done that you could sit there 8 hours straight typing, responding to everything and not feel done, right? So it's up to us to take control and schedule things and schedule breaks. And I could so totally see scheduling in a couple, even 5-minute meditation sessions and just allowing, when you know why to do it, that's the key, right? When I understand I have to change my brain pattern so that, like with cardio, I'm building up over time. That's really helpful. So
yeah, it's a muscle. You gotta work it out and train it. Otherwise, it atrophies.
Yeah. Hey, it's Kev here. We're about to get to the essential question of the show. But first, if you'd like to go deeper into all the marketing strategies that the top pros are using to really move the needle on their sales, then I invite you to come join us on the inside of copychief. Go to copychief.com/join, JOIN, and see a special offer for you to come check it out. And what you'll do in there is you could enjoy one of the trainings. We've got 12 different trainings on how to improve your copy. We also have an invitation to you to post up your copy and get reviews, friendly, happy, helpful reviews from all the cool copywriting pros hanging out in CopyChief. So it's a great community. You really love it. Tons of valuable information. We want to help you sell better. Come join us at copychief.com/join. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you, Julia.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, I'm going to hit you with the big question of the show now. Back to the marketing aspect of this. So, Julia Lundstrom, what is the one thing you've done in your marketing that has produced the most surprising results?
Can surprising be bad?
Yes, absolutely. I love it.
This is one of my favorite stories. We're so successful at the last company, my brother and I, and so we were cocky coming into this company, and we had all the affiliate connections, and we knew the big players and personal friends with everybody, and thought, all right, all we have to do is get this message up launch with affiliates and we're going to, do $1 million in our first couple months, right? Because we've all heard of those big launches and we thought we knew how to do it. So we did that. And we really wanted to start in our passion, which is more around people who we are hanging around. We started this company to really work with entrepreneurs and have them go to the next level, and it was more about performance. So we launched our Mind Boost Day with, think that in mind, our demographic being more of like the alpha brain demographic, the people the younger entrepreneurs. And we bombed. I mean, bombed. I think our first day we made $600. Wow. We had expected, $10,000 at least. And it took us about 3 more months to go back and say what happened. And it was such a learning lesson on know your customer, know your demographic. So we spent 2 months just doing ads to find out who our demographic was.
Great.
So we did a survey put it out there to cold traffic on Facebook and Google, and spent a lot of money just figuring out who is our demographic. And there is a demographic market for the entrepreneur, but it's so much smaller than what our market has become, which are the baby boomers, the 45, 55 plus, the people that have Alzheimer's or dementia in their family, or people that are starting to see, my brain's slipping a little. I'm not as productive as I used to be. And so we had to completely flip the company and pivot our messaging, pivot our target marketing, and go after the people who are really looking for what we had to sell. So we were trying to put, square peg in a round hole for the first couple of months. And it was a very humbling experience. We had hired all these people to start with, and we had to let them all go in the first couple of months because we couldn't afford to keep them on. And
wow.
I will say it's know your market, know who you're targeting.
Yeah, that's great. So, yeah, and thank you for sharing that. I mean, I think any active marketer, especially anyone who's launched several products, I'm going to say it's inevitable. It can be avoided from what you're teaching us here. But that dialogue with your crowd, your customer, before they become customers is everything. It will solve all your questions, right?
Oh, yeah.
If you just ask, and that's why I love how engaged you are now with this company. It's no mystery why you're so successful. It's not just about how do we get our label of our supplement in front of as many eyeballs as possible and hope they click buy. It's about, no, let's make sure we know exactly who we're talking to, exactly what their struggles are, and give them as much value as possible in how to solve it. And if they are compelled to add a supplement to all that, where else would they ever go? And who else would they ever trust?
Exactly.
Fantastic. Wow, this is great. Julie, I really appreciate you taking time out of your big pregnant day.
Big being the operative word there.
Your life is an incredible journey, and I'm thrilled that you shared part of it with us. And thanks for being a beacon here in this market. And I know this is going to be very inspirational to a lot of people. So I appreciate it, and we'll talk again soon.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Hey, thanks again for listening to the Truth About Marketing podcast. If you like this show and you think other people would like this show, the best way to spread the word is by reviewing and rating the show in iTunes. Just log in, click review, leave a big old fat 5-star review, and let everybody know that you dig the show so that they can dig it too. To get all the links and resources we mentioned on today's episode, please go to copychief.com/TAM, as in Truth About Marketing. And if you'd like to learn more about how you can improve your sales copy with templates, formulas, coaching, feedback, or hiring a pro, do all that on the inside of the members area of copychief.com, and I will look for you there. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.